Hey everyone, back for another GT Sport livery video ahead of the new F1 season. You may have seen the 50/50 Alpha Tauri Red Bull design that I did recently, and it absolutely exploded on my Instagram actually. Alex Albon liked it and had more interaction than I've had on any Instagram post I've ever done. And I had quite a few comments asking if I could do one with the Mercedes and Racing Point. Now, I didn't want to copy the 50/50 thing completely, so I was thinking of ways to do it. The joke is, of course, that the Racing Point is just a Mercedes car. I was wondering how I could play on that, and then I came up with the idea of doing the scratched paint design. So it'd be the Racing Point on top and then scratched paint showing the Mercedes underneath. It works on two levels, the pink Mercedes meme, and also the fact that Mercedes, with their history of the scratching paint off their cars, so it's absolutely perfect. This video I'm going to do a guide to show you how to create this livery, and I guess similar ones if you want to do your own kind of scratched paint designs. So it may seem a little strange, but the way we're going to do this is by creating the whole Mercedes livery first. This is a very quick mock-up I did, only took around half an hour to do. As you can see, it's a little rusty in places, but it doesn't matter too much, as we'll be covering up a lot of it with the Racing Point design anyway. So I've not bothered with doing the Ineos red, as you can see, although after doing this design it did occur to me that the joke is that it's last year's Mercedes anyway, which obviously didn't have the red and Ineos branding on it, so it doesn't matter. That's the Mercedes done then. As you can see, it's not the greatest replica in the world, but it'll do for what we need. So now we're just going to add a big pink box over the whole thing for the Racing Point. Now it's time to add the Racing Point decals over the top. I got most of these from Discover. People always ask where I get them from. If you search enough, you can find good ones, and then if there are none of them that show up that I need, I import them myself through the decal uploader. This Racing Point took a lot longer to do than the Mercedes, just because it's absolutely covered in sponsors. There are hundreds of them and so many little ones, more than I actually imagined, and yeah, some of them are really easy to miss as well. The BWT logo is going on the side at an angle now, and as you can see, it does not work at all. The side pods of this Super Formula car aren't like an F1 car, so the pattern is stretched horribly over it and it looks pretty terrible. But the good thing is we can sort this out later, so all will become clear. That's now done then. Again, it's not perfect, there are a few things wrong, but it's all deliberate. And there's no point doing too much work when we're going to delete some stuff anyway. So now we have a 2020 Racing Point livery on top of a Mercedes livery. What we're going to do now is remove the pink boxes that we put on the first point of the Racing Point livery. So it's going to look absolutely horrendous. There we go. It's an absolute mess, as you can see, sponsors everywhere, but now we can see the sponsors from both the Racing Point and the Mercedes, so I can see where to keep the Mercedes bits on. Now, built into the Gran Turismo livery editor are some really nice patterns, and there are these really nice paint flashes. They look similar to the ones that Toyota used on their F1 livery actually in the 2000s. So what we're going to do is add a load of these in pink underneath the Racing Point logos, but importantly above the Mercedes logos. I want to show the Mercedes logo on the nose. Thought that would be a nice bit to show off. So I just need to delete the Racing Point logos over this bit, and then you get the basic idea of the car. Now you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to cover the pink paint bits and just paste them all over the bits apart from the bits of the Mercedes that I want to see through it. Now, as I said earlier, the best thing about this livery is it's actually going to allow us to clean up the awful BWT logo on the side that didn't work. So if I change the depth of the logo, it's only going to appear on the side pod bit and not the engine cover. And then what I can do is just make sure the pink paint flashes cover around the bit where the BWT logo is going to be. So you have the Mercedes stars where the BWT white and the rest of the logo was going to be. So the only thing that's a little bit different is the rear wing end plate, and that's because it's a shiny silver on the Racing Point. So to use the shining silver when the rest of the car is matte, I needed to use that from the Mercedes. So the Mercedes colour is going to be the bit underneath, which will be the Racing Point colour, and then I'm going to add black bits over the top, which will be the Mercedes bits coming through, even though it will still look like it's underneath. If that makes any sense at all, hopefully it does. You can see what I'm doing here. That's the entire car done then, a 2020 Racing Point with a Mercedes livery being revealed underneath it. After I made this, in fact it was the very next day, Mercedes announced they were running the black version this year, and while the joke is that the Racing Point is last year's Mercedes, I decided to do a version with the black Mercedes too, just in case anyone wanted to use it. So this was a very simple one to edit. Just change the silver colour to black and the sponsor logos to white instead of black. The only thing that I had to work a little different was I wanted to put the end racism message on the halo, because that's obviously the important bit of this new Mercedes livery. So I edited the original slightly so the Racing Point halo would be scratched to show the Mercedes at this point. That's it then. One of the more creative designs and crazier designs that I've done, but I really like coming up with these kind of wacky ideas for these liveries rather than doing simple replicas. Don't get butthurt over this one either. It's not meant to be some kind of cynical message about how I think Racing Point is just a Mercedes and should be illegal or whatever. Just a bit of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments, and see you again soon.